This is a new dawn. Dawn Stensland-Mendte here, and we are about to learn together from a real guru how to have a new love life, or maybe a renewed love life. And I love this topic, pun intended, because so many women are in a rut, so many men too, but especially women. They can't find a guy, and they're tired of being lonely. So, well, all that is about to change with some solid advice. This is a relationship coach who I'm so thrilled to have here, author of Lies That Limit, and I want to welcome to a new dawn, Teressa Moore Griffin. So great to have you here.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
It's good. It's good to talk about this because, in fact, we just met together. A woman backstage who is going through something where she feels like she wants love in her life. And why is it that some women seem to be man magnets? That men are, and I'm not talking about hottie or
Yes.
exterior.
Yes.
I'm talking about some people have something within them, within their spirit, that they just attract.
I think that's true, and I find that people who are naturally attractive to others are people who, when the other person looks at themselves through that person's eyes, they feel good about themselves. So it's a person who tends to be very positive, they tend to be more outgoing, they tend to be pretty accepting of other people, which makes it easier to be with them.
And so you talk about, well, first, pivotal moments in life, and I want to get to that, but actually when you talk about the lies, the labels, the excuses, right?
Yes.
I mean, walk me through that and why that's all important to recognize.
Yeah, so the Lies That Limit is really about the labels, that's the L, illusions, excuses, and stories that limit us and keep us from experiencing the full satisfaction and joy we could have in life. And it really keeps us, in many cases, from loving other people, from loving ourselves even, and from loving others. So the lies are the ways that we sabotage ourselves and get in our own way.
And little lies you're talking about. This is not a huge lie. This is day to day what we're telling ourselves we can or cannot do.
Exactly. So they are small day-to-day lies, but they end up having a huge impact on the way that life goes for us. So for example, a lot of people are afraid of the word love. I call it the four-letter word, that people are afraid to say. Because for many people, feeling love has in it inherently a sense of vulnerability. Mm-hmm. And they feel afraid of showing up and presenting their real self to the person that they're engaged with, or talking to, I should say. And when you do that, that means that you're presenting a false front. They're going to love the false person. So you're going to end up in that relationship not feeling love because you didn't offer yourself up to be loved. You offered up a false front. So that's a label, afraid of the word love. An illusion is that there is the perfect one, the one out there for me. And I want to tell you now, there isn't. They're just people. And we really, a man taught me this a long time ago, the founder of a course of study I undertook. His name is John Parakis. And he told me, he said that loving is a choice we make. We can wait for it to happen, but we can also choose it and go with the lessons that it brings for us.
So it's really not believing there's some fairy tale out there, that
Exactly.
This is real life.
Yeah. I mean, Prince Charming is whatever, if you're in a relationship now, and if that relationship is not abusive, you have a good chance of making it the Prince Charming and Princess Charming relationship you want. It just takes a certain level of work and acceptance of the other person.
I also love when you talk about spirituality, that people have to have a spiritual connection and recognize that within themselves, right?
Exactly. So if we think about what does it take to make good relationships happen, it really takes us doing the work on ourselves to get rid of those labels, illusions, excuses, and stories that limit us from loving and being open and being willing to be vulnerable, being available for love. If you think about loving, we think of our heart center as the place from which love emanates. And actually science today is telling us that that's true. They say that from the heart center, there's a field of energy that goes out about 8 feet out that way and 8 feet above us and below us. And breathing is a way to help us feel more relaxed, which will help us feel more loved and loving.
I want you to hold that thought because we're actually going to share your breathing technique and some of that hands-on great information. So 5 resolutions you need to make for an incredible love life, and that means greater intimacy, yes, sex too, in 2013. We're going to be right back right after this. Okay, you now know what you're doing wrong that's preventing you from meeting a lot of men and people, developing healthy, long-lasting, and passionate relationships. So now let's get to 5 love resolutions that you need, I guess we all need to make in 2013, here with Teressa Moore Griffin. So what are those 5 resolutions?
One is to clear out the lies in your life. Get rid of the junk that's inhibiting you from being your full best self in a relationship and for yourself. The second is that you want to notice that friendship should be the foundation of relationships, not so much romantic love, because that's fleeting, it comes and goes, but you want a solid foundation that you can build on. You also want to listen deeply to the other person. Listen so that they really feel your interest and care about them. And good listeners, that's why we go to therapists. Good listeners really make us feel good about ourselves, right? We feel attended to and well loved and respected in that regard. And lastly, don't fight, discuss. Talk through every issue that you need to talk through to have a good, solid relationship. And that's everything from sex and sexuality to finances to long-term career goals to what color you want to paint the room. But really talking it through and revering that other person's opinion as much as you care for and respect your own.
And being realistic and being respectful and talking about this, there's one thing that came out in these Gray's books that we learned a lot about, and the only thing I took from it was that they actually communicated.
That's right.
What intimacy they wanted, whatever that was.
That is the greatest intimacy, is sharing your real self with another person. It's just a perfect way to love another, is to witness them and have them witness you. And the 5th item that I didn't mention, but I want to, is that it's important to be realistic. None of us are perfect people, and our partners will not be perfect either. So we have to learn to love that person as they are, or move on, because people change when they choose to, not because you're pressuring them to.
And sometimes that can backfire as well.
It almost always does.
You know, we were talking about last segment about breathing.
Yes.
Can you share with me, and this is something you really believe in, just the breathing technique?
Seems obvious,
together?
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Seems obvious. But you know, one of the things that's true in the Western society, in our culture, is that we neglect our bodies and we neglect our spirit. And breathing helps us to connect with both. And if you want to really increase the steam in your sex life, breathe deeply while you have sex. You will feel more.
And so it's just, I mean, that you just...
In through your nostrils, hold it for a second,
just
out through your
breathe it
mouth.
out.
And I also believe in sighing. It's a great way to release tension, reconnect with your body, which contains your life force, your energy. So breathing helps you to be more present to yourself and to other people, which is important in any relationship.
I'm so glad you said that, because I'll do that.
Sighing is
And my
good.
husband will say, what? What?
Tell him to cut that out. Sighing is a good thing. It's a good thing.
So it's just letting it all out,
yes,
really.
Yes.
You know, you talked about, in your book, about patterns and pivot points.
Yes.
What do you mean by that, looking at all the patterns? At ourselves, in others, what?
Both. We tend to see them more clearly in other people, but I really encourage us first to pay attention to ourselves, so that when I show up in a relationship, I show up as a person who's kind of swept the floor, in essence. The house is clean, and we can really enjoy being in a relationship with each other because I'm not bringing my garbage into our interaction. So pivot points are those things that happen in our lives, and they're described in Lies That Limit, where we make a decision about something, or the situation occurs and we give it special meaning. So for example, one of the stories in the book is about a young boy who, at 5 years old, his mother left him with his aunt as she went off to work to make money for the family. There wasn't work where they were living. And he decided at that point in his life that he could never love again.
Oh.
A little 5-year-old makes that kind of decision because he's hurt, he's angry. But he carried that throughout his life. And it wasn't until we began working together that that recollection came back to him, and he got then to remember that and to do the work that was necessary to clear it out, so that he can be a loving, available man, versus a man that engages with women for a while and then moves on to the next woman, is serial relationships. And he's much healthier now, able to actually connect and be vulnerable in relationship.
And so really a lot of these things, the baggage we may carry, may come from childhood.
Almost all of it does. That's where we get wounded, and that's where we make up a story about what that wound means and how we're going to react to protect ourselves. And our work is to not be so self-protective in that negative, defensive sense, but to be more available, to have our core, our spirit, our energy show.
Thank you so much for your energy here on A New Dawn, Teressa.
Thank you.
I loved your book.